Root Healthy Plants.
Terrence here with Root Healthy Plants. In today's video, we're going to talk about dry beans and dry peas. So I have a bunch from last year that I saved over, and I'm going to get ready to add it into my backyard food forest to cover the ground cover layer of the food forest. So let's get into it. I'll give you a closer view of what I'm working on, and I'll tell you all about it. In this bag here are beans that I grew last year, or peas. So cow peas, black-eyed peas, Roman beans, black beans, maybe a couple others. But I ate some. I have some in a jar that's dry, and this is what I have left over because I wanted to plant this year. So just wanted to give you a look beforehand. I got a little board here just to hold my two trays, and I'm going to put the empty outside shells or husks, I don't know what the outside of the beans are called, and I'm going to put the actual beans and peas here. And like I was just saying, I grew these last year, and oh, we got some black-eyed peas right there. Now this is just one little stem here of black-eyed peas, and let's see how many peas come in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, we have 8 black-eyed peas in one of these little pods, and one black-eyed pea can produce several. On average, it's 2 pods. So each black-eyed pea tends to produce 2 pods. So if we're doing that math, that's a potential 16 black-eyed peas off of just growing one black-eyed pea, one seed, producing 16 seeds. The math, it's irrefutable. It's a no-brainer. It's why I do it. It's part of my survival garden. I feel, I'm just absolutely compelled to do more and more and more and more because it makes all the sense in the world. So I'm just gonna go through some of these I've harvested already. Some of these I didn't. And for me, right now, I'm not so worried about keeping them separated as far as the different types. We have more black-eyed peas here. So just pop these out of the shell. I'm not so worried about keeping them separated because they're going right back in the ground, and I'll know what they are when I harvest them. So it's not big a deal. Once I get all the beans out of these right here, these don't go in the garbage. These go in the compost, and it's going to go back into the ground, into the soil, and it's going to provide nutrients for future vegetables. If you give into your soil, if you give to your garden gives to you tenfold. So it only makes all the sense in the world. That's why I've run a zero waste operation here at Root Healthy Plants. We don't waste anything. Like no grass, no leaves, no soil, weeds, nothing goes to waste. I want to get through this pretty quickly and see if we can identify some different beans. So I know like this right here was a Roman bean shell. I can tell by the outer shell because of the speckled outer shell and the color. It's like a purplish brindle type of coloring. I know that's a Roman bean. I know this right here, a deep purple, and it's not speckled, but it's just more of like a deep purple and turn it into like a tannish color. That's a cowpea shell. We got another black-eyed pea. So far all black-eyed peas, but I know for a fact we have a variety of things in here. But just sifting through. I don't want to waste any beans, and even if I do, I drop a bean in here, it's only going to go in the compost, and in the compost it's only going to get redistributed into the garden, and it's only going to grow the bean or pea anyway. So it's not it's a win-win. Another black-eyed pea. Oh, we got a Roman bean right here. So let's see. Let's show you the difference. Even though this is a small Roman bean, I want to show you the difference between a black-eyed pea and a Roman bean. You can see the difference right there. Even though this is a tiny Roman bean, this is a runt of the litter, but you can see the difference between a black-eyed pea and a Roman bean, and they definitely taste different. They look different. One is speckled with like the purple there, and one has that black eye like it's known for. And let's keep it moving because I don't have all night, and I know you don't want to be held up by this video. More black-eyed peas coming in. Nice. I want all my peas, all my beans, black-eyed peas. And I definitely want to show you the difference between a cowpea and a black-eyed pea. So right here we have cowpeas, and these are very young, immature cowpeas. But let me see if I can show you the difference, because it's going to be difficult to distinguish, because the only difference is a matter of color of the black eye or purple eye around the black-eyed pea. So I'll put 3 in my hand and let's see if we can distinguish the difference. This right here is a cowpea. Although immature, these are immature cowpeas, slightly immature. It's going to be hard to distinguish on camera, but we have a cowpea on top of a black-eyed pea. If you can see the color, the cowpea is purple, the black-eyed pea is black, and the cowpeas are immature, so they get the same size as the black-eyed peas, just the cowpeas are purple on the eye and the black-eyed peas are black around the eye. That's all. Now that we know the difference between a black-eyed pea and a cowpea, let's move on. A cowpea is purple around the eye, the black-eyed pea is black around the eye. That's essentially the only difference. So we're going to keep harvesting just the same. Let's put this in here just like that. Or maybe I should put the new batch right here, because I'll easily distinguish that these don't belong in here, while these beans could get caught up in here. So we have more black-eyed peas in here that fell out, the little husks. I don't know what to call these. In the comments, please let me know the shells of black-eyed peas and cowpeas and black beans. What are they called? What is this shell called? This outer shell? I don't know the name of it. I would love to know the name of it. Somebody please let me know in the comments. And how do you like to grow your beans, cowpeas? And this right here, this is a cowpea pod right there, a purple cowpea pod, and you can see the cowpeas coming right out inside my hand right here. And let's see how many we get out of this pod. This is a smaller of a pod. Oh, one fell out. So we got 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. So one fell out. I got 6 in my hand and one fell out. So we got 7. You plant one of these, you get 2 pods. The math is mathing. You plant 1 cowpea and you could potentially get 14 seeds back, or 14 cowpeas back. It's a no-brainer. And what business do you get multiples like that? I call myself applying myself. You know, observation, learning from the land, learning from mistakes, paying attention to what works and what doesn't work. Not repeating the same mistakes over and over and over. That's not what I'm into. We want to make progress. So I'm going to move a little bit faster here. We have a proper Roman bean right here. So this is a full-size Roman bean right there. So you can see what one really is supposed to look like. And we have a cowpea next to a black-eyed pea next to a Roman bean. And that's what they look like. And we're going to get black beans. We're going to get a couple more different beans here. We just haven't come across all of them yet. Some more black-eyed peas here. And as I was saying before, the basis and the idea of how I like to grow is starting with a survival garden. What will I need to survive? And what do I mean by that? So I mean, what beans, what vegetables, what fruits can I grow that will last if the power grid goes down? You know, if I can can something, I'll can it. You know, I'm not super adept at canning, so my first measures are growing things that will last dried, and I don't need to refrigerate or freeze it. What can I grow that will just stay good and I can cook it and use it whenever I need it, and I don't have to use electricity to keep it going or keep it fresh, keep it alive? And that's the basis of the mindset that I have. So granted, I have a generator at my house, and I haven't had the issue of having to need necessarily a survival garden yet, but sometimes things don't happen until they happen. There's a first time for everything. So I just like to be prepared, and like I said, I want the basis the base of my garden to be a survival garden. Now I grow other things that do have a shorter shelf life, but I definitely want to have my standard and things that will last for potentially months or years without having to need electricity to maintain it, i.e. refrigeration, freezer, or so on and so forth. So right here we have some kidney beans. So I have kidney beans right there. More black-eyed peas. Yeah, I want to hear like what the mindset behind how you grow. I want to, because a lot of people may grow food and it's cool, to say, okay, I want to grow what I eat. But beyond growing what you eat, which makes all the sense in the world, what happens if SHTF? And I hope you know the definition, or I hope you know the meaning of those acronyms, because what if that happens? What if, worst case scenario, and you don't have a refrigerator that's working to cool down or keep cool things that need to stay cool, or they'll rot pretty quickly? What happens then? For me and my family, I'm willing to grow a lot of different things. I definitely have like fruit trees and summer squash and peppers, tomatoes, things that don't have a long shelf life. And granted, there's ways to prolong their shelf life, but generally speaking, if you just left them out, they're going to rot. If you don't eat them, or if you have an abundance of certain things and they have a small or a short shelf life, they will rot unless you find ways to preserve them. And if you find ways to preserve them, hats off to you. But if your way to preserve them is putting them in the refrigerator or putting them in the freezer, that's not the long-term solution. And that is the mindset behind the basis of my garden, which is, if the grid goes down, if the power grid goes down, what do you do? What do you have? Not only do I stock up on dry goods from the store, lots of rice, lots of dry beans that I purchased, I want to get into the habit of knowing how to grow my own rice, knowing how to grow my own dry beans, and that's what I'm doing. Rice is the next thing I'm going to tackle, because I've been doing a lot of research on rice and realizing that rice does not need to be in flooded fields. I just learned that recently. If any of y'all know about rice and know that rice does not need to be in a flooded field, which I think in America we've been conditioned to think that rice needs to be in a big field and it needs to be flooded and it needs to be Asian people with their pant legs rolled up in almost knee deep in flooded water and picking rice. That's how rice has to grow, and that's how you have to pick it. And just picking rice all day. And the truth of the matter is, rice will grow just fine in an unflooded field. So that's a conundrum right there on how we've been conditioned to see how rice has to grow, and it's just a complete fallacy. So I'm doing a lot of research. I'm learning a lot from doing. I'm learning a lot from the community, the comments, and I love it. I think I need to speed this up a little bit. Just blast through this. Get these beans up out of here, because I get caught up in just running my mouth for the camera, talking to y'all. I get enjoyment out of talk. Oh, we finally got some black beans here. There we go. Finally got more variety. If you can see it on the camera there. So we finally got some black beans. So far, we have black beans, kidney beans, Roman beans, cowpeas, and black-eyed peas. And all of these are going into the ground to produce an abundance, a plethora more of beans and peas. It's a little bit of work. If you're lazy, you get what you put in. Go buy yours from the store, that's all. Because I love the garden community, I'm going to let y'all in on a secret. When I grow my peas and beans initially, I'm going to let you know, I don't source from a seed seller. I go to the grocery store and I get, this is not an ad here, I go and get Goya beans. I buy a big bag of Goya beans, whether it be black beans, pinto beans, or whatever they choose to call their beans, whatever it is, I like Goya. And it's not specific to Goya, like Goya is the only thing that will sprout and grow. It's that I tried Goya, and the Goya beans are not sterile. They will grow new beans. I don't know about other companies and how they process them, but I know that I bought Goya beans, and the first time I put those in the ground as an experiment, and they grew. So I said, why deviate? Why try to fix something that's not broken? So I stuck with Goya beans, and ever since then, I've been saving a ton on buying seeds if they're in the form of beans or dry peas. That's what I'm doing. If you're trying to get started in growing your own beans, dry peas or something like that, do what you want, buy what you want. I buy big bags of Goya beans, because if you try to go buy seeds from a seed distributor, they're going to put maybe 6 or 10 seeds in a pack and sell it to you for $3.50. And for $3.50, I can go buy a big bag of Goya beans and plant so many beans that it's insane, and they all grow the same. And that's how they get you on the marketing, you need to buy seeds, you need to buy seed beans. No, they're the same. I've done it. I'm telling you, this is the proof. I buy Goya beans. What you see right here in this pan, Goya. And like I said, this is not an ad. They didn't pay me. I don't know anybody from Goya. I don't know anybody, but that's just what I did. I'm sure other brands will work. I experimented, so you don't have to do that. I'm just the proof in the pudding, and we got plenty of beans here. We have an assortment of beans and peas here so far, but I want to get through the rest of this bag, and if I have any more points or topics, let's go through it. Let's do it. Alright, let's see. We're going to put a healthy serving in here this time. Healthy serving. Let's do it. Let's get these outer shells out of here. And we don't want to waste no beans. But guess what? If any beans fall and the birds don't get it, it'll end up sprouting. Because I'm constantly adding compost. I'm constantly adding arborist mulch. And the arborist mulch that I have is seasoned enough that I grow in it. And if you've seen any of my videos and you come across the one patch of squash that's in my front yard right now, all that squash, that big patch of squash that's going crazy right now, is growing in only arborist mulch. There's no soil that I'm growing it in right now. I put a bunch of wheelbarrows of arborist mulch that have been sitting in my backyard for at least 5 years. So right now I'm growing, the most of what I'm growing in is probably half soil, half arborist mulch. So in some spots, the arborist mulch is more of ground cover and just helping with moisture retention. And in some areas, it's the actual growing medium. Now I'm learning that some things will grow in the arborist mulch, and I'm learning that some things don't do well in arborist mulch. But if you have seasoned arborist mulch, there's so much that you can do with that. There's so much. And I'm a big fan of arborist mulch. And why am I a big fan of arborist mulch? So what got me started in using arborist mulch is I watched a video, or a documentary, so to speak, about Back to Eden gardening. And I must give credit to the man. I think he's kind of coined as the godfather of Back to Eden gardening, Paul Gauchi. So I give credit where credit is due. I watched his videos, and that inspired me. And at the time, I was growing in raised beds. I had went by a construction site. More or less, it was a house being built, and I saw a bunch of scrap wood and a bunch of wood that was just sitting to the side, and it just looked like they weren't going to use it. It wasn't fresh. It were offcuts and stuff. And I'm like, you know what? A closed mouth doesn't get fed. So I said, hey, dude, yo, are y'all about to use that wood right there? He said, nah, man, you can take it. You want it? Yeah. I need that. Let me get that. And I took it. And although I'm not growing in raised beds anymore, that was a pivotal part of my growing process, and I learned so much. You know, I can't take away from the process, and that's big. You know, everybody has their own journey. I started from growing in pots, whether it be clay pots or plastic pots. I started growing in pots, and then I started learning and doing research and figuring things out for myself. And then I went to elevated raised beds. So I had got fencing, free fencing, wooden fencing that somebody took down around their property, and it was on Free Cycle, and that's a website that people use that people are trying to get rid of stuff, and you can upcycle things. Upcycling, that's a good thing. So things get used more than one time by several, numerous people that find use in it. So, one man's trash could be another man's treasure, or another woman's treasure. I got that fencing on Free Cycle. I made raised beds out of it. I got a lot of use out of it. I learned a lot. And I did that for a year or two. And then I brought my new beds down to the ground. So I have raised beds, and I still have them. So if anybody wants to see what those look like, I have elevated raised beds to where you don't have to bend down and go into your bed. You can just stand up. I don't care if you're 6'5" or 5'2", you can go into that raised bed and not have to bend down. And I did that, and that was the idea behind it. I wanted an efficient raised bed. So that's what I did next. And then I went to raised beds on the ground, because I wanted to be able to have my vegetables having contact with the ground if they need more root space than what's in the raised bed that I put soil in. So that was the mindset behind that. And then I started understanding soil health, and I started growing into the ground. So last year was the first year that I actually started growing into the ground and understanding a lot more. I would never go back or look back. Now I appreciate the process of the journey that I went through and what I learned from growing in raised beds, because I had success, but nothing like the success that I have now. So I mean, if you only have the opportunity to grow in raised beds and you don't have the space, I understand, and it makes sense. Everything isn't for everybody, but I have the space. I dropped the Roman bean here. Let me get that. I have the space, I have the opportunity, so it makes all the sense to start learning to grow in the ground. And now that I learned to grow in the ground, it's made a world of a difference. Growing in the ground and learning about compost, those were the two biggest game changers for me, as far as like my outcomes and what I was able to produce. I didn't have good soil. I'll say that. So I had to go through learning about soil health for me to get to where I'm at now and get some of the results that I've been getting last year and this year. So soil health makes a world of a difference. You can't just say, okay, I'll just grow in the ground and it's going to be all good. If you don't know about soil health, you're not going to get the results you think you're going to get. So I'm sure most people's soil initially is going to need something, some type of rehabbing, some type of amendments. Not many people just come into land and you just have the perfect land to just grow whatever you want to grow and just have an abundance of food, just like Garden Edens at your feet, at your beck and call. So it doesn't normally work like that, and you're going to have to put in some work. You're going to have to put in some research. You're going to have to put in the time, the effort to learn it if you're not paying professionals to do it. These type of platforms are a good way to learn, because it's more like each one teach one. We have a really good community that's willing to help Everybody's willing to assist and offer opinions, offer feedback, offer advice. And I don't take somebody's opinion as like a negative thing. I'm willing to hear all feedback. I love it. I want to hear everything. I'm willing. I just want to hear people that are interested in growing and doing growing their own food, watching people grow their own food, because eventually they're going to want to grow their own food. You know, it's like the saying. You know, you sit in a barbershop long enough, you're going to get a haircut. You know, you keep watching garden videos, people growing their own food, you're going to eventually want to grow your own food. I think it's inevitable. You ask me. But yeah, you know, this is a little bit of work. It's a little bit time consuming. You know, if you got kids of a certain age, you might want to do a little child labor. Put them kids to work. Get some free labor out of them. You know, they not just a money pit. Put them to work. Put them to work. Mine are too young. You know, my oldest is 5. I got a 5-year-old. I got a 3-year-old. And I have a 3-month-old. So, unfortunately, I can't just put mine to work like that. My 5-year-old, she might be able to do a little bit of this, but she might end up doing something that, you know, stuff that I don't want her doing. But so right now, it's on me. I'm on film. I'm getting it done. Dad got this. You got to put the time in. Got to make the investment. You know, you can't grow what you don't seed. You know, you can't grow what you don't sow. If you don't sow it, you can't grow it. You got it? All the couch quarterbacks, the keyboard warriors, if you are not putting in the work and you only have feedback, you only have something to say about how somebody's not doing it correct, you're not doing this life thing to the best of your ability. You got to get in the game. You know, you got to be in it to win it. That's that type of mindset. So I'm getting a ton of beans. I'm getting a ton of peas here. I don't want to bore y'all for the whole video because this is very monotonous, and I don't think a lot of people want to sit here and just watch me pick beans. If y'all do, let me know. Put it in the chat. I'll sit here and pick beans all day and just talk to y'all, and we can talk about it. We can go live. We can get into it. Like, I'm here for it. But I don't necessarily know right now that people want to sit here and just watch me pick beans and peas all day. Now maybe tomorrow or the next day I'm going to put these in the ground because I have to finish picking these, and I'm not even through half of them yet. So this is work, and I'd rather do this over a nice cup of tea, maybe listening to an audio book, watching one of my favorite gardener YouTubers, and just trying to get something out of my time, because I don't like to waste time. I'm practicing survival skills to grow food, hunt if need be, and look at these Roman beans, and just possess the proper skills so that you can survive, hence the name Survival Garden. I think everybody should have a base of a survival garden. I don't care if you're growing on a balcony. You could have a porch and still grow some food, still have some type of sustenance going, even if it's just a matter of a bartering chip if need be. I don't have livestock, for example. I don't have livestock, but I grow my own vegetables. Now somebody who has livestock may not grow their own vegetables, and now we got a deal. Now we can talk. I'll take those eggs. You can have some. Gosh, thank you. Fair trade. Fair exchange is not robbery, right? That's the barter system. That's what we as humans used to operate on. I think that needs to not be lost on us, and understand that you can't barter something that you don't have. You need to know how to be valuable, learn to produce something, or have some type of skills that people need. Learn to be valuable, have and provide value to people, to humans. You know, that's a lot of part of success in life. You need to have value and provide value. What is your value? What value can you provide that people actually want and will pay for? So think about that. I'm almost done with this batch. I'm going to finish this batch and then end this video. Just want to see, what these beans and peas are looking like in this tray here. I want to hear what people have to say about just the barter system, learning to grow, learning to have value. If the power grid goes down and you have the people that are growing their own food and you want some of what they're growing, what can you offer me as somebody who grows my own food that I would want to barter to give you some of this good food, this good organic food? What do you have? Put in the comments. What is your value? What is your service? Do you have a product or service of value? What is the value that you can provide to your community that makes you a valuable contribution towards the barter system? Or are you just a consumer and someone that's a charity case? Because come feast or famine, charity cases don't last. So you need to learn to provide or have some type of value, whether it be producing a product or having skill that people need. We've harped enough on that topic. We are almost done. And I want to show y'all, some assortment of these beans. I still have a whole half a bag here. And again, these are not all the beans that I grew last year. I have a bunch in the house, a bunch of beans, a bunch of glass gem corn, a bunch of corn beads, and you name it. Like, it's called a survival garden for a reason. I saved a bunch to survive off of. And this is what I'm going to re-sow. And this is going to produce a ton. Yeah, we pretty much got through half. Getting through all of these is going to make it too long of a video, and I'm going to be out here till the night comes. After I finish the rest of this bag, it's definitely going to coat the bottom of this tray. These are all the shells just from half of what I chose to harvest for replanting or reseeding this year. These are the beans and peas that I just harvested right here in front of you, in front of the camera. This is a Roman bean. We have black beans. We have kidney beans. We have black-eyed peas. We have cowpeas. Hopefully you can see the difference between a black-eyed pea and a cowpea. This is a cowpea, more purplish. This is a black-eyed pea, which is black around the eye. That is the difference. I hope y'all got some value out of this video. I had a good conversation with you, and I want you to put it in the comments. What are you growing? What would you like to grow? What do you think about the idea behind a survival garden? And let me know in the comment section, and let's start that conversation and keep it going, because more people need to get on that barter system and just understand that we as people need each other. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you on the next one. Terrence here, Rue Healthy Plants.